Alright, so we've got a couple of different things that we're working through in this yin class. Now first I'll introduce you to the two meridian lines, so it's the water element. So the water element is your urinary bladder and your kidney line, and the nice way to remember these is basically they're on the opposite face of the body to those organs. So your urinary bladder will run down the back and your kidney comes up the front. So the vital line starts here at the corner of the eyes, and if you want to trace that line through yourself as well, it comes across the cheeks all the way around to about the middle of the forehead, then continues up and over the skull all the way down your neck. There it spreads into a couple of lines that run down either side of the spine, all the way down the backs of the legs, all the way out to your pinky toe. And then the kidney line starts from about the middle of the foot, well that's the first external point, and then it moves up the inside of the seam of the legs, all the way across the front of the body, and roughly to about your collarbone. So here, whenever we're doing forward folding or anything that we're going to lengthen through the back line of the body, would be getting into the kidneys, the bladder, and then whenever we're doing through the front of the body, that would be the kidneys. Water is an element that basically gets into your creative energy, and that's the second part of this class. I wanted to get a little bit fun and creative this one. I don't know, some of you may have seen my Instagram for my yoga stuff, which is all of these postures with animal heads edited on top of them. And I'm just fascinated by some of these postures and then, named after the animals. And that's what we're going to do. We're just going to explore animal postures and some of them that transform for one stage of that animal's life into another one. So that's a kind of a cool way to move between postures. And we're going to start with caterpillar. So caterpillar is a forward fold. So we can extend out through the legs. If you'd like to use any padding or props here, you can bring them down in front of the body. Otherwise, first we check the feet, we allow the feet to relax, and then we start to slowly round through the spine and drop all the way in, chin in towards the chest, arms resting down by your side. So water is the most yin of all of the elements. Really works well with these forward folding positions. Water is such an important part of both our composition of our bodies and also the earth itself. 70 to 80% water. It's every fluid through your body, including the blood that flows through. As we sink into caterpillar, we can just bring our awareness to the urinary bladder meridian line. That's from the corner of the eyes all the way across the top of the head, running down the spine. That's what we're starting to create length with through the body. So nice in these forward folding postures to start to feel how you're settling into your breath, and just notice if any of that resistance or tension to the posture or through your body starts to build. And maybe you just bring your awareness to any of that tension and directing your exhales to those points of your body. So if you can start to create a little release there. Sometimes when you're in a yin position, which is why we roughly say around 2 minutes, that's the point where you can make an adjustment to move deeper, that's often when the body starts to release and fully sink into the position. It might even be tied with a nice big sigh or an exhale through the body. So at this point, if you'd like to make any adjustments, if that's adjusting props to move deeper, or maybe you'd like to pad yourself up a little bit more to ease out of a posture, just allowing your breath to keep moving, natural flow. maybe just for the last few minutes of this posture, thinking about the caterpillar itself, which that posture is named after. The way that they sort of slink as they move around, shifting the front and back portions of their body. You get that nice big arch through the spine or the back line of the body each time they prepare to take another step forward. Take another 6 breaths. Slowly begin to ease out, lengthening your spine all the way up to the seated position. Take a few breaths here with a neutral spine, as our second posture be straight back into a forward fold, and that's your seated butterfly. That's the soles of the feet coming together and the knees opening wide. So before moving anywhere, you might like to slide pillows underneath the knees just to give them a little extra support. And what we can do in the beginning portion of seated butterfly is we can get into that kidney meridian line. So I mentioned that first point, which is roughly around the middle of where your ball of your big toe is. So if you'd like to stimulate that point, you can get your thumbs, have a little feel around. You'll find that sort of a sensitive, like a pressure point there, and that's your first kidney point. So as we start to return to a forward folding position here, nice big diamond shape between the heels and the hips. And you can just gently draw circles or rock backwards and forwards across that K1 point. And the massage is completely optional. If you prefer not to, then you'll just allow the hands to fall either side of the feet. Otherwise, for the first 2 minutes of the posture, you can just gently stimulate and rub that position, that point. It's nice if you've been on your feet all day or you don't want to stand anywhere, even just to get a release through the sole of the foot. When we talk about water in terms of the chakras, we'd be talking about Svadhisthana, which is the sacral chakra. It's located in your hips, which you'll notice a lot of these postures are hip opening or some sort of hips activation. And I say that the water element is your source or your center for creativity. I always like to bring the reminder that it's also a center for the creation of life, where we all came from to begin. If you're still massaging your kidney 1 point, you might like to release from this point and start to drop deeper forward into your seated butterfly. I'm a big fan of this butterfly position on your bound angle, when the soles of the feet together and the knees are open, because you really get some feedback from the body of how it feels in this position. You might even start to feel the knees begin to sink and get heavier with each exhale as you continue to drop forward. The last few minutes in this position, you might also just like to contemplate or think about how we've moved from a seated caterpillar to butterfly and the different shape through the body from the lengthened legs to the opening line. We'll finish up with 6 breaths. Start to ease out of seated butterfly. So at this point we've spent about 10 minutes in a forward fold, so we'll take that to a gentle heart opening posture or a little back bend here with seated fish, also a reclined fish. Let's keep the feet in the same position if that's suitable for you. There's always the option to extend through the legs. You're going to bring your cushions or pillows or blankets and roughly lining up that bottom edge of your support with the base of your shoulder blades so you can get that extension and opening through the upper spine, the thoracic spine. Slowly recline back. Allow the shoulders to roll open. So now the shoulders are opening very similar to what's happening through the hips. Arms will open up towards the side. You might feel a little bit stronger as we've come out of those 2 forward folding postures. We're now taking the spine in the complete opposite direction. The seated caterpillar was mostly working into your urinary bladder across the back line of the body, but when we shift into butterfly, we're starting to get a little bit of kidney that runs through the inside seam of the legs. Now you can feel here in a reclined fish, now this is all kidney. Through the inside of the legs, all the way up through the front line of the body to the collarbones. You can remain as you are. Fish can be a strong posture, so you might like to stay here with the arms by your sides. You'd like to open a little bit more through the front of the body. You can reach the arms overhead. You can either leave the hands hanging or you can take hold of opposite elbows and bring a little bit more length and opening or extension through the spine. 6 breaths here. We've had the hips in this open position for quite a long time if you've had the soles of the feet together. So let's stay in fish. We'll bring the hands underneath the knees and gently lift the legs up together to touch. Depending on what's more suitable for you through your legs, we'll take a twist. So we can either keep the knees together and drop them over towards the right, or if you'd like to move deeper and create a opposing sort of activation through the legs, we'll take an eagle bind through the legs, wrapping the left over the right, just slightly shifting the hips towards the left side of the mat, allowing the knees to roll to the right. So we don't force these twists in our yin practice, just let the weight of the legs gently take the body over to the side. Take 6 more breaths. Gently take the knees back up through center. At center, unravel if you've taken a bind. Let's take the feet as wide as the side of the mat and allow the knees to knock in towards each other. Take a reset here for 1 minute. Let's take the feet back and towards the middle of the mat. We're twisting to the left. So again, it's either the knees together and lowering towards the left side. Otherwise, you can weave your right leg over the top of the left. Gently take the hips over towards the right side as the knees lower. Again, in these postures, particularly if you have the bind through the legs, twisting through that kidney meridian line. So lots of compression and twisting, squeezing happening through the midsection of your body. knees back up through center. Down the legs, unravel. And then continue to roll all the way over to the right side into a fetal position. So rolling off the pillows or support that you had there for fish. It'll take a minute in a fetal position. Your fetal position, make our way up. All the way back to the front of the mat. We'll come into deer pose. Take the left shin across the front of the mat, and the right leg down by the side. 90-degree bend through both of the legs. And again, our kidney meridian, which runs along the inside seam of each leg, getting a little bit of their stimulation or activation from the posture. Now, depending on how comfortable it is for you to recline over the front shin, you might bow down and forward. You might like to start twisting and bringing the left ribs to the inner thigh, which can be a little more gentle to begin there, and then begin to roll over. And you can also stuff your pillows or blankets or whatever you have underneath the front of the body. This is a really strong one here, probably more so for the kidney line on the front leg. You'll feel that there right through the joint of the hip. The posture that you might like to, depending on how it feels, to direct the exhales right down into the left hip. Maybe allow you that little bit extra space as we come up to our halfway point to drop just that little bit deeper forward. We'll be here for the next 6 breaths. Walking the hands up. Bring the hands behind the hips. Rock the weight back into the hands so we can bring the knees up through center. I'm taking this into dragonfly, extending the legs out wide. Again, in a forward fold, so we can just check that the toes are switching off, the feet relax, the legs relax, and begin to bow forward. So you might like, again, dragonfly is a nice posture that you can actually take a pillow and hug it in towards the chest and fold forward. It's always nice when the external elements play into the things. I find it happens a lot. Like this morning or today feels like a really yin day, so it started with those little showers this morning. Got a little bit of sun, and then we've eased into the cool or the cold of the evening or afternoon. Days like this, I find this gives me a little bit of space for some internal reflection, to reconnect with the fundamentals or the foundation of yourself. When we're working deep within the hips or with water element, it also has a lot to do with our internal emotions or how we have stored emotions in our body. And this was once described to me as almost like having a cup of water or something that has some sediment in it. And basically, it's like taking that cup, giving it a shake, letting all of that sediment float to the surface. At that point, you might like to process or to remove some of that from the water. And then whatever you can't get to or whatever doesn't get addressed comes back down and settles back down on the bottom. So each time you give that glass a little shake, it gives you the opportunity to work through that internal process again. And I always like to mention that as well as working through the sensation of the physical postures, it's almost also the emotional aspect of the postures. Here for the next 2 minutes. Taking the last 6 breaths. Start to walk the hands back, bring the torso up. We'll continue the journey to the back of the mat, taking deer with the right leg and the left down by the side. Option then to bow forward over the right shin, or to swivel onto your ribs to begin. Start on your sides, wherever you'd like to go. So we'll be here for 5 minutes. I'll just let you know when we're halfway through. Other than that, scanning through the body, listening to your breath, allowing it to guide you into whatever depth or modification of this posture you would like to travel to. Really focus on what's happening to the external rotation of your right hip. Maybe even feeling the internal rotation of the back. It might not even be on the inside like the front leg. You might feel a little bit more here on the top of the hip through the glutes. This is roughly our halfway point. The opportunity to maybe drop a little bit deeper or add a little extra cropping. And then halfway gives us about 12 breaths. Begin to exit the posture, hands walking back, also comes up. Again, we'll bring the hands behind the hips, swing the legs up through center. This time we'll take it around into a wide knee child's pose. Taking the knees nice and wide, the big toes together to touch. And so this wide knee child's pose position is also called tadpole. Sit down between the legs. You can always bring support underneath the body if you'd like a little bit more extra lifted padding. Otherwise, extend out and drop down. Each exhale here in tadpole, you might feel more and more connection with the earth. The hips might begin to sink back into the heels as you move deeper in between the legs. Tadpole might be a deep enough dive for you with this hip opening. We can take this into frog. With frog, I always suggest turning sideways on the mat. It's going to give you that little bit extra padding under the knees and the inside arches of the feet. We're taking the knees out nice and wide, arch of the feet dropping down. So we're moving deeper into the hips. You might like to bring padding underneath the body. Or we can begin to fold forward. You can see I get a little bit of extension through the spine here. Heart can come down. And we open up through the hips. Now, if you want to talk about sediment coming to the surface, this is definitely a posture that those thoughts can begin to flow through the mind. And just remind yourself, you can always become aware and acknowledge thoughts, but let's not try to get too caught up on them. Just let them pass through the mind and continue on their way. You have 5 minutes here in either your tadpole, or maybe you take a slightly wider knee child's pose, or you're coming down into frog. Just while we're in this position, I can tell you about my story of this posture and how it felt for me. And I hated it every single time it came up in class. It just was way too much for me in both sensation and sort of the vulnerability of being in this shape. And I just decided one day that I'm going to try it out. I'm just going to sit in it for an extended period of time and see what happens. And I found what was happening was actually that resistance or the tension that was starting to build through the body. Instead of just letting myself drop and sink into the shape, I was trying to hold myself back or just to create what I thought would be stability, but it was actually creating or inhibiting me from actually sinking in and getting the full benefits. Nowadays, when I move into the shape, I just feel everything let go. Completely open. Nice, smooth breaths in and out. We're about halfway in. Finish with 6 more breaths. if you're in full frog, there's a few different ways to get out. My favourite way is just to slide a little bit further forward and ease off the legs. If you don't have space to slide forward, then you can gently edge the knees in closer and closer together. And then let's push back into a closed knee child's pose from here. We'll take the legs together, round the spine over the top of the legs, and sweep the hands back in line with your feet. There's our little rebound, particularly if you've taken frog with a deeper hip opening. You just feel that temporary block of chi through the body, which was the inner thighs, as that sensation slowly begins to fade out. Sweep our arms forward, bring the body all the way up to a seated position. So making sure that you're comfortable in your seated position. We're going to finish with some breathing exercise, Bhramari Pranayama, which is the buzzing bee breath. And what's nice about this is, similar to how we massaged the first kidney point, we can do a very similar thing here with massaging the first bladder point, which was that inner corner of the eyes. So before we start to block the senses, I'll just describe Bhramari to you. Bhramari is like chanting Om through a closed mouth, but we would contain the vibration within the body by also covering the eyes and your ears. So typically it's the lower three fingers will cover the eyes, the thumbs will rest on the top of the brow, the index finger on the brow, and the thumbs are blocking your ears. And we're going to chant 6 of these, and after you've completed your 6th chant, nice and slowly and easily making your way back into your final resting shape. So that would be your Shavasana, or you can take the feet together and the knees open wide. So let's start by bringing the pinky, middle, and ring finger, ring finger onto the eyes. The index finger is just on the brow, and your thumbs are blocking your ears. We'll take a big inhale through the nose, and with your exhale, closed mouth, and creating that buzzing sound as you release. making your way into your resting shape. So as your awareness begins to return to your breath, your natural throat flow, start to trace a line from the inner corners of your eyes, moving down around the cheeks, all the way around the sides of your head towards the forehead. That line then continues all the way over the back of the head, down your neck, either side of the spine, all the way down the backs of the legs and to your little toe. You can start to wriggle through the toes. We'll bring then the awareness to the ball of the big toe, and then drawing a line through the inside seam of the foot, all the way up the inside of the legs, across the front of the pelvis, all the way up the top of the abdomen into the collarbones, and then we can invite movement to return through the fingers. So just tracing your line through your urinary bladder and your kidney meridian lines. The movement through the body symbolizing the flow of water. Lengthen through the legs, pointing the toes, sweeping your arms up and overhead, taking a full body stretch as you inhale. Open mouth, sigh to release, exhale. Let's give the knees a nice big hug in towards the joints, giving them a squeeze, a little rock from side to side. And we'll take it over onto the right side into a fetal shape. And then we'll all join in a comfortable seated position. And then once you're seated, we'll roll the shoulders forward to the ears, drawing back and down the spine. Opening the arms up wide as they sweep up and overhead. Then pressing the palms of the hands together. And allowing your prayer to lower, passing through the crown of your head, your third eye, through the throat, and to rest at the heart. We're bowing forward. And completing this class by saying to ourselves and each other, Namaste.